if you want to succeed with your music, you only need to have three things. So the first one, you need to get started. And I guess most of you guys already got started and you're not just theoretically watching YouTube videos. So the second thing is you need to grow, because obviously you're not there where you want to be. So you need to have some transformation. You need to have your skills growing, your abilities, your network, your everything. And the third thing is you need to do this for long enough until you really reach the point, because otherwise you always stay the caterpillar, but you never become the butterfly in the end. But let me talk now how you can actually go through that process. And I want to talk specifically about mindset in this video. So before we really come to your journey, I want to lose a few words about positive mindset. Because there is a development I see in the internet, and maybe it's not the reality, it's just like a little kind of like probe, you could say. But I went to a few festivals this year, for example, Ozora or Indian Spirit, and whenever I looked into like Reddit or Facebook, I saw people complaining so much. And honestly, I totally enjoyed the festivals like all the last years as well. And it's like that. Two people can experience the same thing, but have a totally different experience. So what do I mean by this? Actually, everything is defined by your perception. And let me tell you a story. So I met a guy who was in a wheelchair like years ago. And when I asked him about his life, he told me that everything changed for positive once he got into the wheelchair. And honestly, I didn't believe him that this was kind of like the best thing ever happened to him. But apparently he was living a very fast life, and then he had this accident, and from that accident, he started like appreciating life. So it still feels like hard for me to grasp this, but you can change your life by 180 degrees by just having a different mindset. Why is a positive mindset specifically so important? Because our biology is wired into that we have that if we have like a negative mindset, so if we are seeing like threats and risks and everything everywhere, then our mind kind of like shuts down, it narrows down, it tunnels kind of into fight or flight mode. And if we are having a positive mindset, if we are kind of like open to the world, then we see opportunities. And if you don't believe me, then read The Happiness Advantage. It's a book about that. So kind of like the summary is like that happy people achieve more actually. So it is not like success before happiness, there's happiness before success. Also, if you're a positive person, it will also help you to attract other positive persons which want to help you. I want to make an example here on this channel. So I have the vast majority of people here are leaving friendly comments, they ask questions, but there's like maybe like one guy and like 100 guys who just kind of like takes his steam off, or I don't know what it is. It's usually like smaller YouTube channels, to be honest. I checked those people out and they kind of like leave like an insulting comment. And what happens? I just ban them. This is like my home here, and I see you like as my friends and guests, and whoever is kind of like not behaving like a friend or guest is in the wrong place here. So don't even kind of like bother making a comment which is like insulting, because you know, like I can make like a bad tutorial, but if it's not constructive, you're not like asking, for example, like, okay, I didn't understand this. Could you go more depth about this? Or I've seen this video, it says like a different thing. That's kind of like constructive and I can respond to this. But if you are kind of a person who just wants to insult other people, then you won't get like any help like in the internet or somewhere. And the good thing is that most of you people aren't, but I just wanted to mention this because if you're a really like positive and open-minded, helpful person who wants to help others first before you get help, then you will receive that back. But now let's talk about your musical journey. The first thing before you break into any journey is that you need to know where you wanna go. So you can be running as fast as you want, but if you're running into the wrong direction, then you will never end up where you want to be. And let me explain you this. So for example, for me, it's not the most important thing to be like touring worldwide or stuff, because that's not really what I want. So for me, like the most important thing is to produce the best killer tracks and help also other people to produce like their best music, because I like to listen to music and I want you guys actually to succeed in music so that there's more good music out there. But for you, your personal vision might be different. You might have something completely different what you want to achieve. And it could be that you want to make your music as a pure hobby, that you enjoy making melodies, for example, but you don't enjoy finishing tracks. And if that's the case, then just maximize your pleasure, man. Then why even bother about like getting good and, for example, mixing or stuff? So if you enjoy that, then just do that. And if your vision is different, you want to play the big stages, or you want to get with your production on par with all the pros out there, then you need to get your hands dirty. You need to allocate resources like time and money, and you need to get your hands dirty, and you need to work on a consistent basis in order to improve and transform as long as you come from the caterpillar to the butterfly stage. And it's important that you remind yourself consistently on your vision. So this is actually a great talk from Kashmir. You can check that out. I will link it in the description, where he also talks about having like a diary. So I don't know if you ever have written down your goals, but it gives you a lot of clarity what you actually really want. And according to studies, it's like 42% more likely that you will achieve those goals if you just write them down. And if you keep writing them down on a regular basis, or at least keep thinking of them, best kind of like on a daily basis, then you will activate something in your brain, which is called RAS, and it's called reticular activating system. Why I needed to look that. It's really hard to speak. But what it basically means is what people talk about on manifestation. So if you are, for example, thinking right now of the color yellow, and you will look in your room, then more yellow stuff will kind of like come into your vision. And the same comes for your goals. So the more you clearly know where you want to go, the more you will see the opportunities out there, especially with the positive mindset. So if you have a positive mindset and you know exactly where you want to go, then a lot of doors will open, or actually they might have opened anyway, but you didn't realize that they were open. Or in other words, maybe they have even been open, but you didn't see them as open before. And once you have a vision, you need to also place this into a realistic time frame. And I want to give you a time frame which I think is very realistic. If you work hard and if you get like the right resources, information, feedback, coaches, whatever you can get your hands on, then I think you should have like a 10 years time frame. And 10 years sounds a lot, but let's be honest, but let's make an example. Let's say you start with 25. Then 10 years is with 35, you have reached something which you can still do like for the rest of your life. And even if you're starting like later, it's not a big deal, you know? It's a big deal if you miss something in your life because you didn't try it, because you didn't start or didn't keep going, because you have been afraid of doing it. That's a big miss in my opinion. But 10 years, that's nothing, you know? Like 10 years is if you study a regular at the regular university, for example, or you do some other job training, and then you work a bit after your certificate or whatever you get there, that's 10 years. And 10 years to be someone in music, to make kind of like your hobby as a job, make a living out of that, a really good one and a professional one, that's really nothing in my opinion. If somebody would have told me that earlier, I would definitely have done that already with like 20 or something, but I thought it's like impossible to do that. I always thought if you haven't started with like 6 years like playing the piano, then you will never be like a good musician. And honestly, I started really late and I didn't have any clue about music production. I couldn't even like clap in rhythm. It's always a bit cheesy to say that about yourself, but I can confidently say that I'm a good producer now. And I really want the same for you guys. So I believe that everybody can do that if you have the right strategy and the right plan behind it. So let me break this a bit down. So the first 1-2 years are just a little bit, let's say, playing around. So in the first 1-2 years, you kind of can make a track, but it won't be very good, let's say. I mean, unless you have like a lot of help or maybe like prior experience with instruments and stuff, I would say like in the first 2 years you can make something decent, but it won't go very far, let's say. Then from like 2 to 5 years, I think you can get like in a really decent intermediate stage. So something where people will already listen to your music and enjoy it, but you will still have a hard time maybe competing with like the really good guys out there. And I think from 5 years on to 5 to 10 years, you really develop your style. You become like a professional artist if you have the right way. So I know people who have been doing music for 15 or 20 years and they still didn't reach it. But this is something I want to explain a bit deeper later in the video, what I believe could be a reason. And then if you're like 20 years into the game, then I think you're really kind of like a master, like a virtuoso, if you did it right. Now you might have decided on your vision and you have a time frame what you can expect roughly. I mean, there's people who will be faster and there's people who will be slower. And that's just my estimation on what I heard from other people or I've seen what can be, let's say. But now it comes to the actual journey. And I think there are 3 really important things. So the first thing is like a growth mindset. And what does this mean? A growth mindset is that you believe that you can change yourself, that it's not like luck or some kind of like extraterrestrial thing which kind of like makes musician. It's your efforts, your responsibility. If you take the responsibility and if you do things, then you can change. You can transform the you which you are now into the you which you want to be. And this is done through learning, through hard effort, and through perseverance. So you need to kind of like do this on a regular basis. And if you want to have like a book tip on that one, there's like the slight edge. It's about that the things you do daily are the ones which actually matter the most in your life. It doesn't matter that you go to the gym maybe for like 10 hours in one time a year, like after New Year's Eve. It matters that you show up every week once or twice for an hour to really change. And the same for music. So you need to put like a certain amount of hours in there and you need to kind of like do this on a consistent basis because it adds up consistently and it will make your transformation. And now comes a thing, what is my speculation why some people don't succeed? And it's that they don't really learn. So I think some people are just like drawing like circles and doing the same thing. And obviously repetition is super important, but I think you also need to add new information. You need to add like new concepts. So if it's like masterclasses or courses or YouTube videos which you watch or music from others you kind of like analyze or which you at least have like a very close like listen, and then you will discover concepts, you will discover principles in there, and then you will try to apply them and you will fail. And that's also an important thing. You will have setbacks on your journey, and if you don't lose the vision out, then you can imagine your journey. Let's say you're going up like a mountain or something. Sometimes like there's fog maybe in between. You don't see the kind of the goal anymore, or you walk up and then you walk down again. But it's important that if you keep the vision and you consistently keep developing, then why shouldn't you get better? And you need to develop a positive response to feedback also. I see that so many times, and I had it also on my own music. You take so much time, you create something, and then somebody crushes it. And as long as the guy crushes it with constructive feedback, you need to accept that feedback. I mean, you don't need to change everything people tell you and be just what they want you to be, but you need to try things. If people tell you, and especially if multiple people or more experienced people tell you stuff, this is so valuable, man. That's so valuable if you kind of like have this feedback loop and you can change things, and then through repetition it will get like more strong in you, and after a while you will look back and you will realize those things yourself which you did wrong, and you will have a new perception of the things. And accepting feedback brings us to the beginner's mindset. So the more advanced people get, I think the more they get stuck into their I have always done this, or I have seen this in video XY, and this needs to be done like this. There's like different opinions out there, and you can only really find out what suits your style the best if you try them. So if you are kind of like having an open mindset, which allows you to let go of ideas, try new ideas, and then compare them, which one is better, which one brings you more forward in the end. So it's an attitude of openness. So basically you're seeing new possibilities, and also it's fun, you know, it's kind of like it's sparking your curiosity, and it makes you more eager in order to learn something new. And the last thing, which I think is super important, and it comes back to the setbacks and the resilience and everything, you need to believe that you can do it. Because if you are not believing in yourself that you're able to do this transformation, then you won't. That's simple. Because then a setback will kind of like stop it, or you're not kind of like standing up when you need to stand up. You won't see the chances and the opportunities because you make yourself small when you need to think big. And yeah, actually, if you want to like a book recommendation on that one, then Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, for example. You can apply this to anything, like to music as well. And also there's another book, How to Think Big. But let me tell you, it's not arrogant if you believe in yourself. It's arrogant if you think you're already there, because then you don't have the openness and the beginner's mindset. But it's not arrogant if you believe that your future you can be there. Let me close this with this sentence, and let me know in the comments what you struggled most in your journey. If you ever thought about quitting, what your goals are, and much more, and see you in the next video.